I went back in time to 1998 to play one of the most innovative shooter games made by Valve, and would become an important part of Valve's history and ultimately put them on the board as one of the best developers of all time, Half-Life.
I don't want it.
I've set my trap card. Oh my god, the thing happens. That was funny as fuck. Oh my god. People who know Elite Ball will know, as soon as I said shooter game in 1998, they will have immediately known that I'm probably talking about Half-Life. Not the first game itself, but Half-Life was one of the first games to feature actual real-time storytelling, and a game along with a tangible story that you could follow along to. Now, this game is fairly dated as it was made in 1998, before the Source engine even existed in its official form, so be ready for some true 90s polygons and graphics. But beware, I was playing the Source version of Half-Life in this video, so it does look slightly better in some parts, but the Source version of Half-Life got a lot of criticism for some reason. I don't really care, I don't really mind. I did play the original. Chapter 1, The Black Mesa Complex. So this level is just an entire on-rail section where you're in this train cart going through the Black Mesa Complex with an intercom that is telling you exposition. It's basically exposition about like what's going on, where you are, what the game's about. The Black Mesa Research Facility is a huge multi-sector underground governmental, research complex built into the Cold War launch site in New Mexico. In a Cold War launch site. It contains labs, transit tunnels, biodome, test chambers, heavy industrial areas, teleportation experiment. It basically talks about what's going on, where you are, your name is Gordon Freeman, and you're clocking in to work that day. You're a very decent ranking scientist at that site who is one of the few people who has the ability and qualification to use a HEV suit, HEV suit, and you're just clocking in. Now, I want to talk about this. I try to give pros and cons of each chapter, and I want to make it quick. To start, it's good. It gives good context, and it offers some nice on-rails, like, not fully cutscenes, but still, it's the type of thing where you're moving around in a cart, and you have to look around and pay attention to the environment, in order to see the stuff that's going on. So it kind of shows you the world around you. And the bad part is that it can feel like forced exposition to some people. Playing it for the 17th time probably isn't as awesome as playing it for the first time. But it really doesn't come off like that, I will say. It's just like I was playing devil's advocate. Chapter 2, Anomalous Materials. After you get in and you're clocked in, you make your way through many of the facilities. Just walk around, basically, the Black Mesa complex. And it kind of shows you the sci-fi world around you, but now you get to interact with it. God damn it, Gordon, stop fucking with the microwave.
It's good to see you. Gordon, you lousy motherfucker. Get your dork ass down to the test chamber, or else I will shove the sample up your ass. Stop fucking with the microwave!
And as you walk through, you see computer systems failing. Some eerie shit going on. And you're like, oh man, nothing's bad. Nothing bad is about to happen. Everything's totally fine, as normal. And eventually, you get to a point where you're supposed to go into this chamber with a giant analyzer gun that will shoot beams at this alien artifact, and it blows up, and it's basically a catastrophic apocalyptic failure, and then that leads into the next chapter. The good thing is micro world building, interacting with NPCs, little world elements, something that I call PIR, player investigation rewards. There's random little things here and there that you can interact with as extra loot by just investigating around the level and not just running through it mindlessly. That's something nice about Half-Life itself, is it took the boomer shooter and then it added a bit of brain to it, not just fucking relentlessly kill stuff, and it leaves a nice little cliffhanger for chapter 3. This is where a lot of time is added on in speedruns, I've noticed, because there's somewhat forced exposition, but it's necessary context, where there's a lot of moments where you're waiting for NPCs to do something while they're talking. Next chapter. Chapter 3, Unforeseen Consequences. You wake up from the giant boom. Everyone and everything is utterly fucked. You walk by some scientists trying to apply aid to a fellow wounded scientist, and the group of 2 tell you to get to the surface and handle the situation. The facility looks like something came through and rampaged everything, but not everybody is dead. It's like multiple random rifts started opening in time and space, and a bunch of weird creatures came out and randomly killed people and then went on to do other shit. So, you get multiple new enemies during this level that you have to encounter as you make your way back to the surface. This is where the combat begins. So, the basic head crab, the classic Half-Life head crab, it kind of just walks slowly until you get in range and then it jumps at you. There's the head crab scientists who have been head crabbed and are infected zombies, basically. There is what I call the Sonic doggos, or the Hound Eyes. They're just little dogs that run at you and then do a little sonic boom thingy, I don't know. And then there's their superior dog version, the bull squid, which is just a weird bulldog squid face thing. And then there's Vortigons, which are weird, kind of more like humanoids, but really weird in what you imagine as a Discord moderator or a Reddit moderator. And they kind of charge up these little beams and shoot at you. Now, if they're in range and they have line of sight, no matter what, they will always damage you. And I'll get into this flawed combat that I see later, but they take a second to charge up, so they're still avoidable. And you might be wondering, how do you deal with these things? Well, the game gives you a crowbar and a handgun, and then eventually, through a lot of hallways and random events, you get to this elevator and move on to the next chapter. You get the first introduction of combat in this level, more depth utilization of NPCs, actually using them to open shit up, and then you can actually use the guards to shoot things for you and follow you around, and more here. Player investigation rewards. Chapter 4, Office Complex. You come out of the elevator into this higher level office complex that's also been co-occupied by humans and aliens of the light. You make your way through with some more player investigation rewards, and unique challenges like electrical socket, like electricity in an overflowed room, so you have to avoid the water and turn the electric thing off. Some ventilation navigation. The new one enemy is a machine gun turret mounted on the roof, which you just shoot until it stops shooting, but there is a method where you run up to it and turn its lever off, but most of the time later in the game you just fucking shoot them. Some more NPC interactions, I said that earlier, but beer. Eventually you get to an elevator shaft where a scientist falls to his death, or you could shoot him and be cruel. Whether you consider that a mercy kill, I don't know. Then you get in that elevator and you progress to the next chapter. This is more playtime to adapt to enemies. For some players, like myself personally, it felt repetitive. It was more close quarters combat with aliens, and it felt like it was kind of dragging on, but that's just me. Chapter 5, We've Got Hostiles. So you get out of the elevator, and it is immediate chaos. A scientist runs off into a mine and you watch security guard get snatched up. Now this level introduces a lot of new enemies and some actual tangible verticality in the sense of up and down movements. So the military has arrived and they are pissed at the scientists. They do not like them for what has happened. They blame them and they blame Gordon Freeman, and they've decided we're going to exterminate this entire Black Mesa research complex along with the aliens in order to try and kill everything and everyone and cover it up. Now, of the military that you fight in this level, because it's all indoors, it's mainly only the like 4 main soldiers along with their gadgets. So there's the Hazardous Environmental Combat Unit, which is just basically, imagine like if stalkers from, the game series Stalker, Call of Pripyat and all that. Imagine those guys were turned into actual soldiers and sent here to clean this bullshit up. They have like gas masks and shit, special weapons and gadgets to deal with all these random things. Now, you have 4 types of soldiers in the combat unit. You have the Demo Man, pretty self-explanatory. He just carries a standard rifle, except he can not only throw grenades, but shoot them out of the barrel of his grenade launcher. You have the Commander, which he just tells everyone what to do. He's a spotter. He just has a machine gun. I believe that's it. He might be able to throw grenades as well, but he can call everyone together. And there's a regular soldier, just a machine gun, that's it. And then there's the shotgun soldier. He's just a soldier with a shotgun. And they have their gadgets like the mines and the tripwire activated turrets. Believe it or not, the turrets don't activate automatically. You either trip their proximity gauge, which you have to be really fucking close to them, like melee range, or you go over a tripwire that'll activate them. Now, it's different for everyone. Different tripwires are bound to different turrets, but we'll get to that. As you play through this level, you have little scuffles and encounters with these new mentioned enemies, but you have a new tool. The M16 or the rifle that just uses handgun ammo for some reason, because in the other game it was an MP5, but we're gonna ignore that. It's a game from 1998. Let's ignore that. Eventually, after some fighting and skirmishing, you make your way to the surface, but it's also occupied by the military. Surprise, surprise. And after some more fighting and avoiding the military after almost getting fucking bombed like you're Iran, you find your way to the ventilation system with plenty of pier to go around, and eventually you find a barricaded wooden barrier that leads to the next chapter. Now, after this point in the game, it doesn't include a lot of new enemies. So it kind of starts to boil down into the gameplay and, you problem solving. Occasionally there's new enemies, like I believe we have yet to see the alien grunt unit, but I'll get to that. There's new enemies and ways to deal with them. There's good level design with Pier. But the military is weird and annoying to fight. Now this is my little chance to dig into the military and how I hate them. I hate fighting the military in this game because they have such a weird AI. If they're not moving, they are actively shooting at you. And when they shoot at you like a lot and perfectly accurately. Even if you're like moving around, I mean, you can move around to avoid it, but then like you're not accurate. At least I don't know. Like if you're not playing this game like a boomer shooter, it is way harder. And I'm pretty sure even while playing it like a boomer shooter, it's still probably pretty difficult because the way these guys are. Every shot they fire, every grenade they throw is a perfect hit, so you have to keep moving in these tiny ass close quarter engagement hallways and shit. Like it's quite annoying in my opinion to fight them. I think they could have had better mechanics, like an actual like level of accuracy and shit. And also, they're so goddamn tanky. They are absolute bullet sponges with all these things going for them. They're also pretty quick, not faster than you, but they're quick enough to where they can catch you off guard because, I mean, boomer shooter era, the gameplay's pretty quick in general. It's nuts, in my opinion. I think they're annoying to fight, but this is my one chance to complain about that, and I'm done complaining about it. The Blast Pit, Chapter 6. As you find yourself in another part of the Black Mesa complex, you find your way around into this fire testing chamber where you're testing, like, rocket engines, and there's a new enemy, tentacle thingies. I don't know what they're called. I didn't care to look it up because they're fucking weird, but basically, they're sound-activated tentacles, so they're in this little chamber randomly hitting on different parts of it, and you have to be careful to not make any noise because they're sound activated. They won't really know where you are. I mean, the game seems to have some kind of program where they slightly go towards you, so you're forced into like moving around to avoid them. But if you make any kind of sounds, they're gonna know where you are and start hitting where you are, and it is not instant game over, but they do like 75% of health, and they eat through your armor real quick if you have any, which you won't have much by this point probably because you just got done fighting the military. But basically, you have to make your way around to 3 separate areas while progressing your way through the tentacle rooms, and you have to activate like an oxygen thing, a fuel thing, and a power thing. After going around and activating all those things, which takes like a good like 15-20 minutes, I'm pretty sure, you come back, you fire the test chamber, and it blasts those assholes with some serious needed 1,000-degree fire. Like it fires them and they get fired from life. And then you kind of jump down into the giant hole where the tentacles were, and then you make your way through some pipes and vents, and then you're on to the next chapter. Chapter 7, Power Up. You make your way out of the hallway, and then you find these 2 soldiers fighting a giant alien mech thing. And here is a new enemy, Gargantu. It's just a giant alien mech thing that can shoot fire at you, destroy you, and blow you up, and it also has like a weird laser ability. You don't have the power to fight this thing right now, because they are super tanky. There's no way on Earth that you have enough bullets, rockets, or anything to fight this thing, because you don't have all its weapons yet. So, you have to get creative with it, as Gordon Freeman does, and you make your way through the facility, and eventually, through a lot of just like, once you turn this giant power supply on, you have to lure the alien back into this weird chamber where there's some generators, and you power them on, and the car's like a giant electricity thing, and blow the bitch up, and then the bitch is dead. And then you move on, you go back to where you started, and then there's rail and a cart, and you take that cart onto the next chapter. Chapter 8, on a rail. Now, the most important parts of this mission happen at the start and at the end. After getting on the train, at the end of the previous mission, you meet up with a security guard who tells you something that changes the entire story. I'm paraphrasing, but he talks about how a scientist told him to tell you to take the old railway system to a rocket satellite that would be needed to be launched for the Lambda team if they were to fix this whole mess. And something about the military abandoning the launch. Basically, there's this satellite that needs to be launched into space that gets proper data for this so-called Lambda team. That way they can fix the whole thing. And the military is abandoning the launch, so you gotta go do it yourself. You spend the entire mission on this old railway system, just going through, killing things, and clearing the area. And it takes a whole 30 fucking minutes. I mean, that's how long it took me, and maybe not other players, but it took me a whole 30 minutes. It's well-needed gameplay of fighting aliens and military of the like. It's fun to just play around the combat in this old game. It's interesting, but it takes a while. And then at the end of this mission, you finally get there, and you get to the satellite place. You launch the satellite launcher after clearing out of the military, and then you go to the next mission, and there's an annoying ass enemy. I forgot about this military guy, but he only appears here, I think, for the first time. New military enemy called the Sniper. Basically, he just sits in a nest somewhere. You don't necessarily know where he is unless you've played the game before. If he can see you, he starts shooting you, and he does a lot of damage. And it's very hard to kill him with bullets, so typically you have to throw a grenade up into his nest after getting close to it, and then he'll die. And now, with the satellite launched, you need to get to the Lambda complex, and that is the new objective. Chapter 9, Apprehension. Something important. It kind of resets your progress a little bit. Let me talk about it. There's a lot of cool gameplay, and there's a setback in the story. You fight this new enemy, a fish thingy that eats a scientist, and then you get a crossbow. The advantage of the crossbow is it can shoot underwater, but what I've learned can kind of just like bait the alien thing out of the water and then shoot it while it's up above the water. Also, some guns can still be fired underwater, I think, but I don't remember this 100%. Yeah, you kill the damn thing after some parkour and some going through some bullshit. You encounter another new enemy, the Assassin. They're basically just soldiers, but they're small. They have night vision on, and they only have suppressed pistols. They're not super quirky, but like they run around and try and hide from you, and then when they think you're not looking, they like kind of sneak up on you, come out of a piece of cover real close, and they start shooting at you with a pistol. And if you return fire, they'll start running away again and back into cover. They are placed in a very appropriate place with lots of cover that they can go hide behind. There's only 3 of them in this room, and then you can just kill those 3, and then you have to open up this door. After you go into this room, the lights cut off, and you get the shit beat out of you, and you get captured and taken away by these soldiers who kind of just want to kill you. They tried to. They put you in a garbage compactor. They tried to crush it before you could escape, but you being the GOAT, Gordon Ramsay, you escape with a crowbar, and then you progress to the next chapter. Chapter 10, Residue Processing. This is kind of just getting the progress back that you had before after getting captured and all your shit taken from you. After you get out of the sewers in the part of the mesa, you find a silo that goes to a residue processing plant, and it's the only way to go. You progress through this residue plant, and it's mostly parkour. It's not my favorite, but it worked, and there was this really weird bug on the source version of the game, which is probably why people don't like it because it's super buggy, where I would encounter random game-breaking visual bugs that would just flash on my screen to the point where I couldn't see fucking anything, and it only happened on the parts with the conveyor belts, and it's really annoying. I don't know why. You only get a few weapons back here and there. You just kind of have to survive. The objective, survive. As you make your way out of the sewers, you find yourself in this laboratory, which is the next chapter, Questionable Ethics. With all these aliens and military fighting each other, and you look around, you notice a lot of the aliens are cage kept with contraptions to do testing on them. This is a big laboratory that you're in, and as you make your way through killing these creatures and soldiers, you will be rearming yourself as you go about, as long as with some new experimental weapons with like the weird laser beam shooter, and then you burn a hole in the wall with a laser so you can save some scientists and then have them let you outside the facility and on to the next mission. It's pretty quick. There's a lot more to it than just that. I forget where, but I forgot to mention the new enemy. I know it's here by this point. There's an alien enemy that's like a grunt. So it has this weird weapon that shoots these seeking little guys at you. They don't do very much damage, and they're still pretty easy to avoid despite being seeking, and they're fighting the military a lot. Chapter 12, Surface Tension. It will become obvious after you step outside that the military is still fighting the aliens, and the world itself is in this giant on-scale war where the aliens have kind of broken out and are attacking random parts of the world. But it seems to just mainly be the US, because that's what all sci-fi invasion, alien invasion stories are, is the world's getting invaded, and then it's just the US that's getting invaded. But this mission is a really long mission of just fighting the military and aliens as they fight each other. Now, there's a lot of cool set pieces. It's a lot of runtime. It's pretty long, in my opinion. But there's a lot of cool stuff here. Boomer shooter, kill things, and use your brain. But you can go slowly and methodically, but it just makes it a little bit more difficult because boomer shooter kind of gameplay is what it's meant to be, as it's that era. But very action-packed most of the time. A lot of military fighting. Not too much alien fighting, but there's still some scattered in there. And there's a lot of military fighting aliens. That's interesting. There's a part where the game gives you the new weapon, the rocket launcher. There's been multiple new weapons from this point that I haven't mentioned, but I just, there's too many that I just kind of gloss over them. But yeah, you get a rocket launcher, then you get to shoot down this helicopter. Then there's like a lot of sections where there's a non-moving tank, where it's just a tank blocking an area. They have to blow its turret off, but its turret will shoot at you. You blow its turret off, and then it blows up, and then there's soldiers. You clear out some soldiers. You keep progressing. There's a giant mech, and then you can kind of get this area where you have to blow it up with an artillery strike. But then you also have to like blow up these other sections of the little map you're in to clear an area so you can continue onward. So that's kind of interesting, getting creative with that. They managed to make airstrikes part of a puzzle, so that's cool. And after you blow a hole in this bunker, you go into it, you go on to the next chapter, forget about Freeman. This is a very short and concise mission, 10 minutes or so, where the premise is that the military has deemed the situation too dire and has pulled support for getting the situation under control. Because aliens start popping up all over the world, assumingly. America, world, assumingly. And the military just wants to secure the strong points they have left, and you, Freeman, go throughout the mission fighting mostly aliens and what's left of the military. You go back to this airlock bunker door, it leads you on to the next mission. Now here we go. There's a lot of story happening that's about to happen. So the military, they're backing off because the world is going to shit, which would seem like, okay, you got the military off your back, and from a gameplay standpoint, it's nice, but that also means you have a lot more aliens to fight instead of military, because the military isn't fighting them. But also, that means that this situation is so dire that if Gordon doesn't fix it himself, the entire world is fucked. Next chapter. Chapter 14, the Lambda Core. As you make your way through, there's some more bunker fighting, and then you meet up with some scientists. Alive scientists this far in the game, that's weird. And the new objective is to reactivate the Lambda Core, a nuclear reactor, so they can power up this device that will make a portal to the alien world so you can go invade them and kill their leader and stop all this bullcrap. That's the plan. In this level, you go around this giant nuclear reactor and enable it whilst fighting aliens. And from the point of the military is completely absent from the gameplay and story. They are gone. And they have these teleporters that they use for the first time, and you have to find the right ones. I'm talking about gameplay, sorry, not the military. There's these teleporters scattered around. These will figure your way out through the Lambda Core. It's kind of, it's really interesting. It's trial and error trying portal by portal, because on each layer of the core that you're in with the portals, you have to jump in to each portal, because there's like 3 entrances to each layer to find the one that leads you to the next layer. You also have to time it right so you land on these moving platforms. That way you don't fuck it up. Takes a while. There's opportunities for extra loot here, but a lot of trial and error. It's really cool. I like it. I don't know if they're randomized each run, but I would guess probably not, because this is something I'll get to later. 99% of this game is the same each run. There's like not much randomness in it at all. After this power up, after you power up the reactor, you get back to the portal room, and the guy powers it up while you have to fight these aliens to protect him while he does it. But he's going to tell you exactly when you have to jump in. If you don't do it, the core will blow up from overpowering the portal, and if you do it too early, you will die because the portal's not fully open yet. But there's a new enemy that comes at you while you're trying to protect the scientist dude that's opening the portal for you. I'm not sure why, but they're called alien controllers. They're basically the only flying variant of the aliens, and they shoot these little orange balls of energy at you. They're pretty easy to avoid, but their flight paths are really annoying, so shooting back at them is also really difficult and annoying. Typically, the revolver I have found is the best anti-air weapon. That's the easiest as well. As long as you jump in at the portal at the right time, it will lead you on to the next chapter, chapter 15, Zen. This is when you go on the attack, and you're at the alien world. Instead of trying to defend your planet for as long as you can, you are on the attack, attacking the aliens. And you wake up in this alien world on this platform, and you get your first look at it. And you're floating around in the middle of nowhere of the universe, which it's weird, because it's like, it looks like you're in the most star-dense area of the universe, because there's so many, like, green and orange, like, kind of colored gases and universe-y, like, colors. I'm not sure if it's meant to represent the alien dimension, or if it's meant to just, like, signify the fact that it's in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the universe. But this level is actually quite short without much combat, mainly to get the player used to the environment and the parkour of the alien world, moving platforms, low gravity, and the kind of layouts of the maps. It's kind of being weird, because you're no longer enclosed by invisible walls and shit. You're enclosed by the fact that you're on an island in the void, so if you get knocked off and fall off in the middle of nowhere, you're dead. And as you make your way through, you eventually power up this alien portal via some puzzle solving and some magic butterflies, and then you move on to chapter 16, Gunark's Lair. This is the first kind of boss fight in this game, of the two that there are. Unless you consider the tentacle things from like chapter 6 a boss, then this is like the first boss fight in my opinion. At least in the form of like a formal boss. But yeah, it's like a 3-stage mini boss where you find yourself in Gonarch's lair with other dead people in hev suits. That's weird, I'll get to that later. You fight Gonarch, and after you do enough damage to her, she runs back to her little lair, and you chase her down, and you guys are in a different arena. And rinse and repeat until you kill her in the 3rd arena and travel to the next chapter. There are some other things along the way, some strategies that I've learned. She either runs with you and attacks you with her big sack. She has these little things that she spits out of your sack, which are like mini head crabs that kind of just jump at you and suicide bomb you. They don't do too much damage, but they are annoying because there's a lot of them that she spawns. If it's not obvious, her weak point is the sack. That's where you do most of your damage, but it's very exposed, so it's an easy weak point. And yeah, you blow her ass to smithereens and you move on. Chapter 17, Interloper. This is the second to last chapter, and it is very long. It is the last main alien mission before reaching the boss. You start off in a more complicated parkour kind of area with some flying bomber dudes. A lot of parkouring, and then you progress to this other alien island with some enemies and some loot and one of those Gargantu things that you actually have to kill yourself this time. But there's this giant cheese strat that makes him really easy to kill if you use the tentacle arm things on the map, where you get him stuck in one spot at a spot where he can't reach you, but you can just shoot the tentacle arm and then kill him slowly. After you kill this boss, you progress on the island and avoid some of those more tentacle dudes, the blind ones, and then you reach the next area, which is like an alien factory center. I don't know how to explain it. Like these alien conveyor belts, and like it's literally alien factory. That's all it is. It's just the aliens world, but in like their factory. I don't know. There's like these giant barrels of shit they're producing and moving through filters. There is a lot more combat to be had here. A lot more Vortigons, flying doodads, the alien controllers. It's filler, but it is much needed gameplay in the alien world because otherwise there wouldn't be much runtime here. So I actually kind of like this. Fighting the military was exhausting. I'm glad it's alien combat now. Then you make your way to a portal, and then you are on this place with a bunch of rocks, and then there's a very ominous portal at the end with spikes around it. And instead of being in the middle of the universe, you're in the middle of nowhere. The universe textures are gone. It is black darkness, and it's just the islands and the shit around you. It is very ominous. And then after you go into it, you go on to the final chapter. Chapter 18, Nihilanth. Here's the big baddie bitch-ass boss alien you've been fighting aliens in the military alike to get to for so long now. 5 hours, maybe, in like 20 minutes if you're a speedrunner. Speedrunners can do this shit pretty quickly. Basically, you spawn in this area, and you gotta start making moves, because after a few seconds, this guy's gonna fucking beat your ass from the Earth core. You're in his room, his domain, his little area, and he has these 3 Healy crystals. I actually looked up the boss fight, because I didn't want to get fucking pummeled by this big bitch, so I looked up a guide, and so I kind of knew from the beginning how to fight it meta. Like, there's 3 crystals on the walls that you have to take out at the beginning because they are his healers. Explosives are preferred, so this is where you preferably save your rockets for, and then use those rockets on this part, and then you kind of just unload damage into him until his head pops open, and then if you just land a grenade in his noggin, he just explodes and is dead. Now, there are some cool attacks. He'll just shoot some normal damage shit at you. He won't actually spawn any enemies with him, which I actually kind of like that. I don't like when bosses' whole mechanics are just spam a bunch of minions at you. In one of his abilities, he'll shoot a portal at you that'll teleport you to an alternate side world where there are aliens that you have to kill, and then they also give you some loot in case you need a loot refill, and then you go back into a teleporter that takes you back to the arena, back to fight the big bitch. So that's kind of cool. But basically, you kill the bitch ass, and then G-Man wants to have a conversation with you, the one that you've been seeing lurking all over the facility for the past while, who kind of seems to be immortal in the immense amount of bullshit that's happening. Like, he's just managed to be in the right spot to watch you every now and then. How are you doing this with just a briefcase and a suit? Like, who the fuck are you? Who is he? After you kill the guy, it explodes into a big portal, and then you wake up in an elevator with the G-Man, and he kind of takes you through the events of the world and what's happened, how he's impressed by you, and he's basically recruiting you onto his crew, I guess. At the end, he gives you 2 choices. You can either be part of his team, go into the portal, be recruited onto whatever cause he demands of you, I guess, or option B, he fucking throws you into all what's left over of the alien army after you killed their big bad boss, and they will brutally murder you. Now, there are modded endings for this where you can actually survive and kill them that I've seen, so that's kind of cool, but ultimately, if you take that second, you just kind of get murdered and die. That's the non-canon ending, but it's an ending you get to choose in the original Half-Life. Assuming you don't, you get recruited, you get left in this little pod until we find out whatever happened in Half-Life 2. The story kind of ends abruptly. It's a nice cliffhanger. It doesn't really wrap up anything. It kind of just set up this great world building with a lot of unanswered questions. Because you don't even know if the world got saved yet, killing the bad boss. Assumingly, you saved the world, because now they just have to fight off the rest of the aliens, and then you're good. But it's really not, like, implied anywhere that you did, besides you killing the boss. But here we are. That's the end. There are a couple final little notation things that I have to say, and then I'll be done here. The gameplay has boomer shooter-like movement. It's very fast. The pros, it rewards people who are good with this fast, sweaty gameplay. The game speedruns are really entertaining to watch. The cons are, the game is way harder if you prefer slower movement. I prefer slower movement. Not like tactical shooter slow, but I believe there is a perfect mid-ground that can be achieved, like, with how the old COD games do it. Now, that's just me being a brain-rotted old COD fan, but that's besides the point. The inventory system is good, but it's old. It functions as an inventory. You know, you're like a GTA character with all these weapons on you, but nothing else. But you have to get them by looting them as you go. You don't just, like, get them. You have to loot them. It is quite outdated in the form of, like, it's that old Source Engine type of thing where you scroll to the weapon you want to pull out, then you pull it out. Which is really interesting to me, because in modern Source games, you just finger the key that pulls out that weapon. I mean, I guess it worked for the time when people weren't, like, things weren't really established on, like, inventory systems, how to pull out weapons and stuff. So I suppose it's good for what it was trying to do. But it's a little weird having to scroll to the thing and then click on it. Like, it works, and it's impressive for 1998, but it's just weird as a modern standard. And you'd think for a boomer shooter, you think it would just be scroll to it or click the number, you get it because it's so sweaty, but I think it makes it even more sweaty that you have to scroll to it, click it, and then, do whatever you wanted to do with that weapon. And I think it makes it all the more sweaty, but either way. Here's what I've learned. The game is very difficult on your first run through, no matter what difficulty setting you have it on. I played easy first time, normal second. If you don't know what you're about to fight, you're often railroaded on resources, and oftentimes military enemies feel very bullet spongy while causing lots of damage to you. On lower difficulties, it's still easy enough, but it's going to give you a lot of a harder time. Now, the enemies themselves don't do a lot of damage in entirety to the player. It's more so often that their attacks are very difficult to avoid, so they kind of just slowly chip down your health until you hopefully find a medic station, but you don't always get that opportunity before you bite the dust or are stuck on low resources. Now, this to me is just outdated AI, where they don't necessarily have free movement and shooting mechanics like the player, which is understandable. I will say again, this game is from 1998, and the enemies don't have much downtime. They're either running or they're shooting at you. So that's my thought there. The game relying on gameplay and not using cutscenes at all is interesting. It's very cool. It's still a relatively on-rails story, relatively meaning fully on rails, where the same events always happen. There isn't a speck of randomness in this game, besides the shooting mechanics. It makes for an interesting story the first two runs, but besides difficulty and being a good candidate for speedruns, the game doesn't have a whole lot of longevity. I do not see myself going back to play this game again after making this video, but it was a fun play. I won't lie, it was a cool story, and it was fun to learn about the precursor events of Half-Life 2. The not relying on cutscenes is what really makes the game better. The game demands more curiosity out of the player to get immersed in the Half-Life sci-fi world, but the other thing that does this is peer. Peer is another really good element for this, because it forces the player, investigate to get rewards, and like such, if you continue investigating, you'll learn more about the story, and see more little things that happen in world storytelling. Now, whether it's a good or bad thing will be left up to you, but I think it's a good thing. I feel like Half-Life could have been way better if it was just made 5 or 10 years later with the technology we see in the late 2000s, mid-2000s even, Half-Life 2. This is one of the reasons that I plan to play Half-Life 2. Whether I make a video or not on it, we will see. I've heard that Half-Life 2 makes several notable changes to the gameplay of Half-Life as a whole, so I'll probably make a video solely on those notations, but I'll see how I feel when I get there. The game doesn't exactly end on a cliffhanger. Holy shit. The game doesn't exactly end on a cliffhanger, but if you're bad at interpreting things like if you're bad at interpreting things like me, you might just be like, what the fuck even just happened? You might need a video about what even happened in Half-Life. Like, you understand a lot of the things that happen from your point of view, but there's so much crap around it that makes you so confused. Like, why are there other guys in hev suits everywhere in the alien world? How did the military come to the conclusion that they needed to kill all the scientists to stop this mess? Why is G-Man a god? Who is he? These are the type of questions that make the player desire more info / a sequel or prequel without relying on a lazy cliffhanger. The game wraps up the story, but the game wraps up the story for the world, but not for your own character. Gordon Freeman's fate is still undetermined.